The US President says the August the 31st deadline still stands.
We are currently on a pace to finish by August the 31st. The sooner we can finish, the better. Each day of operations brings added risk to our troops. But the completion by August 31st depends upon the Taliban continuing to cooperate and allow access to the airport for those who we're transporting out, and no disruptions to our operations.
Military aircraft continue to take off from Kabul airport. It's a 24-hour operation. On board, some of the tens of thousands of people who have been evacuated since the Taliban seized power on August the 15th. But it's estimated tens of thousands more are desperate to leave. Despite pressure from governments around the world, and before the US President made his statement, the Taliban reiterated there would be no extension of the August the 31st deadline for the remaining NATO soldiers in Afghanistan to get out.
We will not allow an extension beyond August 31st, so the US should remove and evacuate all personnel by the set deadline.
Mujahid said the Taliban is stopping Afghans from going to the airport.
The Islamic Emirate is trying to encourage people to go home, but the Americans are inviting people to go to the airport. Their adverse policy of continuing to board people on planes. The airport access route has been closed to avoid stampedes.
The UN's top human rights official told an emergency session of the UN Human Rights Council she has received credible reports of the Taliban committing serious violations, including summary executions of civilians and restrictions on women.
A fundamental red line will be the Taliban's treatment of women and girls, and respect for their rights to liberty, freedom of movement, education, self-expression and employment, guided by international human rights norms. In particular, ensuring access to quality secondary education for girls will be an essential indicator of commitment to human rights.
The Taliban spokesman said women should, for the time being, stay at home because Taliban fighters were not yet trained on how to behave.
We need to have a procedure and a plan in place. Security force is not operational. They are not trained to deal with women. That's why we're stopping women from going to work. We ask women to stay home and their salaries will be resuming. Come back to work when we have a system in place.
With no extension of the August the 31st deadline, there are mounting concerns for tens of thousands of Afghans that want to leave this country. The Taliban says they have nothing to fear and that there will be no reprisals against people who have worked with NATO, foreign organisations or the media in the past. But trusting the Taliban on the basis of their words alone is something that many Afghans and the international community find very difficult to do. Stratford, Al Jazeera, Kabul.